Thank you all for being here and those who are joining us remotely. Appreciate everyone participating in tonight's meeting. I do hope and pray everyone was safe as a result of the storms this past week. We were sitting in this room and the power went out. So we had to suspend, and I again appreciate the patience of those who were watching that meeting virtually. But safety is of most importance to our town. And again, I appreciate all of our law enforcement, our fire, EMS who help support those who might have been in need. So again, thank you for that. But again, please be careful. We may have some other storms coming up. I pray again everyone who's remains to be safe. At this time, we will follow our agendas. Council, you have your packets. We will start with our invocation. First by our Pastor Wesley Morris, Oswald Amity Church. If you would please come, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's bow for prayer. Father, we bow our heads before you today. We thank you for another opportunity that we do have to call upon your name in prayer. And we do thank you for the good blessings that you bestow on us. Lord, we so many times take for granted every day, but Lord, we do want to pause for a minute to thank you for each and every blessing that you give us. We thank you for this town, our community. We thank you for this area that we live in. As the mayor said, we do thank you for the safety that you provided for us through the storms. And those, God, we do pray for that maybe suffered some damage or possibly some injury. Lord, we do pray for those as well. God, we pray for the meeting tonight. We pray for wisdom and knowledge. Pray that you would bless everything that's conducted here this evening. We'll thank you and praise you for that. You do. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Would you please stand as we recite our Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for your participation. We will follow along our agenda. Council, are there any amendments to tonight's agenda? Staff?
Mr. Mayor, if it's all right with you and town council, I would like to add item 17 and then let item 17 then becomes 18 to discuss a water tank contract and just simply to paraphrase at this moment, we've had two different contracts with one company for a lot of years. That company has been sold a couple times and the town has not been made aware of that. And just because of some wording in the contracts, I think it's something we need to discuss more in depth.
Any other items?
No, sir, that's it.
Council, you've heard from staff looking to add one additional item to the agenda. If there's no objection to that, I would ask that we accept the motion to approve the agenda with that amendment.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize. Instead of waiting until we get to the item on the agenda that we were going to discuss a fee in lieu of, the builder has requested if we could postpone that an additional month to give them time to meet with our staff to have further discussions before you all would be asked to make a decision on that. So that is the other, to postpone if that's okay, or we can wait till it's there, whichever way y'all prefer to do this.
Okay.
Mayor, I would request a closed session to confer with them.
Okay. Any other items? Council, again, you've heard from staff and from our attorney. for a closed session at the end. If there are no objections, I'll ask for a motion to accept the agenda with the amendments as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, motion is made by Mr. Harris, received the second by Mr. Now. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is our consent items. We've got several sets of minutes. We've got the approval of the town schedule fees, some changes there, the approval of a resolution regarding the filing of an application of a financing agreement authorized by North Carolina General Statute on the Dollar General purchase. We've got the approval of a contract between the town and the North Carolina Charter Education Foundation on behalf of our Charter Academy for an SRO officer. We also have an annexation request setting the public hearing date for September 14th. An annexation request also authorizing the clerk to investigate petition and setting a public hearing date also for September 14th. Those are our consent items. These items will all be approved by one vote unless there's an item that council either wants to add or remove. With that, I'll ask council if there is a motion on our consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion that we adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Hinkle. Is there a second?
A second.
Motion's made, received a second by Ms. Harris. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is recognition and presentations. I will turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For those that are not aware, we started this year trying to recognize an employee each month that has excelled beyond the normal. An employee can be and may receive it more than once. So far, we have had several employees that have shown up and were recognized for a body of work that they've done. I would like to also say a lot of these employees have a normal commitment level that is above average. So as we have department head meetings to discuss who should be or who could we nominate, sometimes that gets kind of difficult in determining what is above ordinary. And the person we have chosen this month is Chief Josh Watson. It's kind of ironic. He too, just like the one last month, does not like to be singled out in the spotlight. When we have talked about employee nominations of the month, he himself has criticized himself as far as nominating some of his personnel. In his own words, when we volunteer to do this job, it's 24/7. And an example of that is about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Chief Watson has normally gets his 40-hour work week, if you want to call it that, in usually by Wednesday evening, afternoon, or definitely by Thursday morning. But on this particular day, he had asked if he could take most of Friday off, and being he was beyond 50-some hours at that point, of course, I said, yes, please do. But we lost power for some erroneous reason. At that time, we never were notified, other than there were some transformer issues in the region. But the chief, realizing that we had several intersections without traffic lights, put his uniform back on and came back out to work and assumed a role in directing traffic. And it's not been too long ago, as you all know, when I was first hired, you wanted supervisors, and especially a police chief that was responsive to what made common sense. I think Mayor Pro Tem was your exact verbiage that you used back then. And to me, I did not give a direction. The chief called me and said, this is what I'm going to do because. And what you all were looking in as far as a chief to go and lead his officers by example, not just do as I say do, that one example is one that I would like to point out, that he came out and exceeded as a police chief what any that I've known would have done, and he does that on a regular basis. That's not just one example. He's constantly directing traffic, constantly filling in and answering calls, visiting with our businesses. The National Night Out this year, several of you all commented, was, if not the best, one of the best you have ever seen in our town. I appreciate Monday that one of you all said you remembered when it was here in the town. The fire department joined the police department, and that was pretty much it. So for what Chief Watson and his officers has grown that to be, I want to thank him for being our Employee of the Month. Again, because of his leadership, I think we're in a much better place with all of our officers. And even though he may think it is their duty, I'm expressing to him and to you all that it's above average, and I appreciate it.
Congratulations, Chief.
I will say that I appreciate the award, and the only way I feel that I'm able to be what I am is because of the great officers we have. The 22 people that work for me are the best officers I know, and I'm very proud of them. And they're out here doing a lot every single day, and you know, without them I wouldn't be able to do what I do. And so I really appreciate them, and thank you all for recognizing me. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I dare to say we have the best chief in the county, and we appreciate all that you do, and making sure that we are all safe and providing that level of law enforcement that's needed with care. I think that's important, and what you bring to not just your everyday, but what you bring to the team, and they will follow you as you lead as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you. You're welcome.
The next item on the agenda, I dare to say, is one moment I'm calling him pastor, and the next moment I'm calling him fire chief, but he is absolutely a great leader in our community, and again, I dare to say the best fire chief in our county. I'll turn it over to Chief Morris.
Thank you once again, Mr. Mayor, Council. Hope everyone is doing well. And let me start by saying congratulations, Chief Watson. Very well deserved, and I appreciate that. So it's been a while since we've been here. I don't have a whole lot. My report will be sort of brief tonight, as it always is. Just want to follow up on a couple projects that we had going. That's been kind of a slow go, it seems like, but there is some movement there. I will tell you that the Engine 3, the new apparatus rescue engine that we had ordered, and I told you it got delayed. Well, it got delayed again as far as delivery time, but there has been some steps. Actually, last week we met with our sales rep and went over some preliminary drawings for that truck. Then it goes back to the manufacturer through the engineering to finalize those drawings. So hopefully it'll be on the assembly line for too long, but now they're saying that it's going to be sometime in April of '24 before we get that. And we're finding out that apparatus is getting very difficult to get. Matter of fact, this particular manufacturer, we asked them if you wanted to order a new truck now, what would be the delivery time, and they're 3 years out on that as far as fire apparatus. But anyway, we just have to deal with what we dealt with. Station 3 project, finally, I know the last time I was here, they were basically just pouring some concrete. I don't know if you ever ride out that way, but now the new bays are completed. They are completed, and we are using them. They're in operation. As far as the side, this has kind of been a several phase project. The sleeping quarters, the new sleeping quarters, are within 2 weeks, hopefully, of being completed. They are now doing putting the flooring down, painting's done, and finishing some doors, and so hopefully we'll be able to use those in just a couple of weeks. And now they are really trying to work on the upfit on the inside of the existing building with the new day room that they're putting in. I think that's going to be their next target, hopefully to have it ready to use in probably 3 weeks, and then going to start in the new kitchen area. And hopefully, talk to the builder today, hopefully this project's going to be done by the end of September, 1st of October. So we're thankful for that. This has been a long process. Personnel-wise, last time I was here, I told you we were 3 short on our full-time side. We have been. The application process was open. We actually did a new hire interview process today. And so we interviewed for some candidates for those positions, and we're hoping to make job offers maybe by next week, and then maybe have these new personnel on by the middle, no later than the end of September if possible. So that's some things going on. We did complete our annual hydrant testing for the hydrants in the town, and that's kind of a process, kind of a 3-phase thing too. We do every year we do the flushing, the greasing, and the inspection. This year, the town, we did painting. We painted the hydrants. We've tried to involve that now in the process of keeping the hydrants looking nice. So we painted all the ones in Station 1's area, and then next year, Station 2 and 3 will be doing their painting in the hydrants as well. So other than just the everyday operations, everything's going good on that side of the road when I left this afternoon. So if you got any questions, I appreciate your support. And if you got any questions or anything, always feel free to ask, stop by, see us at any time. So if you got any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any
If I
questions?
I just, and I guess the answer is the same with a lot of companies, businesses. Why I can remember when there were people waiting to be hired, trying out various departments around, trying to find an opening, and now it's almost like, we're waiting for people to come, and when they get, we're ready to,
You're talking about the
heart's beating. I'm talking about, your comment about, having to, you had the 3 openings and waiting and so forth, and I'm just wondering, is this look to continue in the fire service as well as, police officers as well?
And I think, Mr. Hinkle, I would love to have an answer for that, and I would love to come up with a remedy to that. I think it's the trend. I think it's the day and the days we're living in, and I feel sure, I haven't talked to Chief Watson about these things here as far as the police department, but I have talked to other fire departments in the area, and it's not, if it was just us, we would kind of begin to do a self-examination and see maybe what the issue is. I mean, as far as that, but it's not a single department that's having struggles. I mean, we can go from here all the way to the city of Charlotte, and they're doing lateral transfers as far as cut their rookie schools in half for folks that have certain certifications that'll come from another department. If you if you've been on that department for so many years, you can come in kind of in a fast track rookie school, even in the city of Charlotte, because they are having the same issues as we are on a bigger scale. So I would love to have an answer for that, but I don't. I guess it's just the fact of emergency services, the job, folks just don't seemingly want to do it anymore. I still think it's a great job.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And glad you did. Any other questions, Chief?
Only that I do enjoy to stop by and visit your firemen. they quiz me a lot about a lot of things there one day going on. So I try to make sure I'm ready when I walk in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they probably got a lot of questions, but you're welcome anytime. We appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is new business. And the first item is to consider annexation boundary agreement between the town of Troutman and the city of Statesville. I will now open this public hearing and turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you all are aware, we have had several discussions with the city of Statesville. You all have the map. The public also sees the map. Jordan Grant, per both attorneys, felt like there needed to be physical surveys and not just the use of GIS mapping. So this is the completed result of that, and I certainly recommend to you all that we proceed with this agreement with the city of Statesville. We'd be glad to answer any questions if you all have.
Any questions for Mr. Wyatt?
You mentioned the other night that Statesville was going to bring this up too. They haven't actually approved it yet, have they?
No, sir.
Their council meeting was another couple of weeks or so.
They are supposed to this month, is my understanding,
But they're all in agreement now with the mayors and town managers and all.
I haven't polled all of their elected officials, but it is my understanding that if not unanimously, that the majority certainly is in favor. I've not heard any objections, let me put it that way.
I heard it there the 21st.
21st.
August 21st.
Yeah, it seemed like it worked out good. It was a pretty good agreement where the boundaries ended up.
Yes, sir.
But now the gas station is not, it stays with Statesville, right?
Corner?
Yeah, the corner. It's outside of our boundary, right?
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I was thinking when I saw there.
Other questions for Mr. Wyatt? Okay. I would ask anyone here at the public want to comment on this boundary agreement map? If not, I will close this public hearing. Council, you've heard from Mr. Wyatt regarding the agreement with Statesville. I would say that Mr. Wyatt and I have had conversations with Statesville regarding the agreement on a number of occasions, and appreciate Statesville's willingness to sit down and work through some of the details on the agreement. Again, we're one community in Idaho County, and I appreciate their diligence in working with us on it. We will now consider approving the ordinance 2123, titled an ordinance adopting an annexation boundary agreement between the town of Troutman and the city of Statesville. Is there a motion regarding this ordinance?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor, that we approve ordinance 21-23, an ordinance adopting the annexation boundary agreement between the town of Troutman and the city of Statesville.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any other question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is an annexation request, AX 2306, contiguous. The applicant is Celeste Dominguez, representing the Children's Hope Alliance, Barham Springs campus, portion of PIN 473-295-9334, 75 plus or minus acres. I will now open this public hearing. Turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you stated, this is a request for annexation that we received from Celeste Dominguez on behalf of the Children's Hope
Bless
Alliance. The property that we're considering annexation is located on the west side of Highway 21, and it's north of Barium Lane. It's approximately 75.5 acres in size. And as you stated, this is contiguous to the current town limits. The zoning on the property is RS, which is suburban residential, and staff is recommending approval of this request. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address those.
Council, any question for Ms. Hare? Okay. Anyone here from the public like to comment on this annexation request? Okay. I will now close this public hearing. Council, you've heard from Ms. Hare regarding this annexation request. We will now consider the approval of ordinance 2223, titled "An Ordinance to Extend the Corporate Limits of the Town of Troutman, Contiguous." Is there a motion regarding this ordinance?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor, to approve ordinance 2223, an ordinance to extend the corporate limits of the town of Troutman, North Carolina, contiguous.
Thank you. Mr. Harris, is there a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Now. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. The next item is a rezoning request, RZ 2303. Applicant is Celeste Dominguez, representing the Children's Hope Alliance Barron Springs campus. The request is to rezone the 75 plus or minus acres located on the west side of Highway 21, just north of Barium Lane, from Town of Troutman suburban residential to Town of Troutman office institutional. I will now open this public hearing and turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Yes, sir, this is a rezoning request that is part of the annexation that we just heard. As you stated, Celeste Dominguez is the applicant, again, on behalf of the Children's Hope Alliance. They are the owner of the property. It's currently zoned RS, which is suburban residential. This property is in the town of Troutman's ETJ, so it's currently under our zoning jurisdiction. The request was to rezone the property to the town of Troutman OI, which is office institutional. Again, this is a traditional rezoning, so there's no site plan that is required as part of this request. In other words, there's no development proposed as part of this rezoning. Basically, annexation and rezoning will bring the property into compliance with our current land use ordinances. These are properties I did want to point out that were retained by the Children's Hope Alliance, and they will not be a part of the Wakefield mixed-use development that the town approved in September of last year. So these are properties that will continue to be used by the Children's Hope Alliance. The property in size is about 75.5 acres. Again, the location is highlighted on your screen. It's on the west side of 21, just north of Barium Lane. This is a copy of our current zoning map. The properties in pink are the Wakefield Village development. That pink is this mixed-use zoning category that property was rezoned to. You can see the RS there in green on a couple of the properties that were retained by not only the Children's Hope Alliance, but the Iredell County Rec Center, and then the church in this area. There's also highway business just to the south of the site along Highway 21, and then there's industrial zone properties on Burlock. This is our land use map. If you'll recall, we updated our land use map at the end of last year. At that time, the land use committee brought all of the Barron Springs property into that mixed-use zoning category. We do feel that the O&I zoning meets the definition of the mixed-use land use. One of the reasons is that this Wakefield Village development will also have some commercial component to it, which will include offices. So we feel like O&I is compatible with the mixed-use land use. This is a by right rezoning. Again, it's not conditional, so there's no site plan, there's no conditions that we can attach. All the uses and development standards have been established by our current EBO. The planning board did review this at their last meeting, and they unanimously recommended approval as it was submitted. Staff is also recommending approval for a couple of reasons. One, we wanted to point out that we feel that the requested rezoning to OI will bring the property into compliance with our current ordinances. And it will also allow the user, which is the Children's Hope Alliance, to continue to operate on the property. They may choose to expand the Children's Hope Alliance site. This will allow them to do that. The requested rezoning is also consistent with the mixed-use zone have any questions, I'm happy to address those. The applicant is here as well, if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any question for Ms. Hare?
I didn't have a question, but I'm glad that you clarified that. I think we mentioned it in our meeting on last week, that that was property that was retained during that sale, just in case anyone got confused as to what they were doing. So thank you for clarifying that.
I'd have just one, I need a clarification on the zoning, the OI zoning. Is residency allowed within an OI zone district?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Single-family residential is allowed in it.
Single-family residential. Okay. I don't know, maybe that might be a question for the applicant, but some of the buildings in this zone, right, are multifamily, correct?
I don't know that they're being used that way currently. I don't believe there's actually any housing currently on the site.
Okay.
They
all right.
use the buildings for administrative purposes. There's a daycare
Okay,
there.
okay.
There's recreation within it.
Just going by what I see from the street, so yeah, thank you for that.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a
But
time?
that's Once
Okay.
upon a time, or a while back. No.
Thank you.
George lived in, it's been long gone.
Oh,
It's been a few years since I was there.
we dealt with that one last year, right?
Yeah.
Any other question for Ms. Hare? Okay. Any question for the applicant? Okay. Anyone here from the public like to comment on this rezoning request? Okay. Hearing none, I will now close this public hearing. Council, you've heard from Ms. Hare regarding this rezoning request. We will now consider approval of ordinance 2323, titled an ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from Town of Troutman Suburban Residential to Town of Troutman Office Institutional. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
I will make that motion, Mr. Mayor. Proposed ordinance 2323 be adopted, an ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from Town of Troutman Suburban Residential, RS, to Town of Troutman Office Institutional, OI.
Thank you. Mr. Hinkle, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion is made, received a second. Any other question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Council, we will now consider a statement of consistency. Is there such a statement? And please read the statement in full.
Uh,
See, go read.
please do that.
I got it.
Consistency, read.
Rezoning to office institutional is consistent with the 2035 future land use map by allowing mixed uses on the property located in the Barium Springs. The request is consistent with the currently adopted Unified Development Ordinance. The request is reasonable and in the public interest as it proposes to allow commercial development in areas of Troutman where it is appropriate.
So motion, or statement has been made regarding our statement of consistency. As a motion, is there a second to the statement?
I'll second, sir.
Motion is made, received a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dominguez, for continuing to operate Children's Hope Alliance in our community. It's a valued part of, historical part of our community, and we appreciate it. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the consideration of the appointment of Camille Leahy as a voting member of the Design Review Board. Currently, the position is vacant with an expiring term of 11/12/23. I'll now turn it over to Ms. Hare for comment.
Yes, I apologize. Camille Leahy has applied to be a member of our design review board. Our ordinance does require, the policy of the board does require that the applicant come before not only you all, but also the design review board and be interviewed and just meet the group. Ms. Leahy did that at our last meeting. The Design Review Board was very impressed with her resume and excited that she was looking to serve the town. So they recommended that she come to you all this evening just to introduce herself and so that you all can consider her application to become a part of the Design Review Board. And Ms. Leahy, am I saying that correct? Leahy, thank you, is here this evening.
Ms. Leahy?
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Hello, everyone on the Town Council. It's good to see you, and thank you for your time tonight. My name is Camille Leahy, and I'd like you to consider my appointment on the Design Review Board. I have about 12 plus years in commercial real estate, starting in brokerage, project management, construction. I have a background with education in MS in architecture and real estate development, and currently right now I work for Truist Bank in their transactions department. My husband and I moved here about a year and a half ago, and we fell in love with this little town. And really, I'd love to spend my time volunteering on the Design Review Board just to put forth my experience in commercial real estate and help guide some of the design principles as we move forward into the future for this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for Ms. Leahy?
I just say she looks like she comes here well qualified to be in that role.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for volunteering to support the town, and we welcome you here, and
Thank you.
hopefully you can provide some great insight and continue to help us grow responsibly for our town. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Council, you've heard from Ms. Leahy regarding this expiring term and desire to be appointed to this board. Is there a motion regarding this appointment?
Mr. Mayor, I apologize, but I did forget to mention the term. This is a position that's been vacant for a while, so it does expire in November. So I wanted to point that out, and that so Ms. Leahy will need to be reappointed at that time if you all choose to do so. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Great.
Is that required? Seems like that's a short.
Yes, it will be.
So this is a trial run.
Exactly.
Just checking. Is there a motion regarding this appointment?
I'll make the motion we approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other question or comment?
I just wanted to say, sir, that with the appointment, if we all vote, and I'm sure we will, Ms. Leahy will complete a committee that is made up of professionals in this regard, and we're very fortunate in that, sometimes we get folks that are learning, but are on the, trying to learn as they go, but we've got people that are already there and know what they're talking about, and it's a very well-informed and qualified committee. Ms. Leahy just adds to that valuable asset.
I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you again. The next item on the agenda is item 17, which replaces the fee in lieu of request, and it's a discussion regarding the water tank contract, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Adam can vouch for his part of this, the first contract was signed back in March of 2004. And the second contract, once we had a second water tower, was done in April of 2008. These contracts, as Gary can tell you, there's such phrase in the legal world as what appears to be a normal contract, but then some people question, is there such a thing as a normal contract? But in talking with some of my fellow managers in the area, and also with some other utility companies that have tanks, and verifying concerns, and part of going back to the directive that you all gave me of vetting the contracts that we had and what they were, I learned that this company had been sold a couple times, which that's nothing unusual, and as our attorney can attest, and I haven't verified the verbiage in here, but typically contracts are sold and are forwarded to whomever purchased them out. But still, in good business practice, people normally discuss such things. But to my knowledge and no research I can find, have we ever been made aware that it had occurred not once but twice. And they went back and started using a different name. But the unusual part of this contract requires that actually 3 of you all sign it, that 3 elected officials sign if there's any alterations to the contract. The second part to this one is it allows up to a 5% annual change, but you can only do it every 3 years. So that means with the way things have been progressing of late, they are supposed to go up to a maximum of 15% every 3 years. In our case, they actually had went up because of the company change less than that 3 years, which we could technically argue being a breach, but if it's 5 cents and 5%, up to 5% annually, is that a big deal? On one hand, if it's done 1 year or 3 years, but the contract does say 3 years, and that was not done. So this year, when they wanted to go up on an increase, because I pointed that out, the increase did not occur. But that's also what made me start looking at other companies and contracts. Due to this one saying that it was prepared on March of 2004, it was actually not signed by our then mayor until June. We need to give a 90-day notice if we intend on not continuing that contract, which in reality would be by December 4th of this year, depending on what legal person wants to say when was the contract. Well, on the front of it, it says prepared March, even though it was not signed until June by the second party. The first party signed it in March. It really does not matter when we give notice that we intend on doing away, but I wanted to give you all opportunity for discussion. If there's any additional facts that you want me to get for you, I will certainly do that. But it is my recommendation, and as far as our normal business goes, these are things that we have been handling and making you all aware of, and we will, and we do have a couple options going forward that have came in with good reviews so far, and we're in the process of vetting those. But depending on which 3, or if you all wanted to be a little devilish and everybody sign it, that's up to you all. But I wanted to give us time to, if you agreed with me that we do need to do away with this current contract and look at other options, that we have plenty of time that we can get the verbiage on the notice prepared, and then have time for you all to sign it accordingly, whether it be at next month's meeting or if you wanted to drop by. But it is my recommendation that we give notice to do away with the contract and then find another vendor.
All right, question for Mr. Wyatt.
Now, you say find another vendor, so you are dissatisfied with their performance, or is there other reasons involved?
Yes, sir. Specifically, when they sell out and nobody has been here. Now, they've been performing their contract, as Adam can tell you, to minimum standards, but we don't, we don't get inside of a tank and ensure how well the work was performed. So until we have somebody else, I really can't tell you that they've performed it adequately or not. I can tell you in 2.5 years as your town manager, up until I started questioning where was the contracts and had they provided them to us as I requested for them numerous times, I would have already recommended that we do away with this. But we've got every excuse of different personnel, companies sold, and until last month, I hadn't met anybody in person from this company in 2.5 years. And That's my biggest thing. That's not a relationship to me that you normally foster if in 2.5 years you talk to somebody once. That's, to me, them not trying to do a good job. As far as the other companies, and me talking to other people with water tanks, yes, there have been inadequacies discovered there, but I can't say that at this point because I didn't want to go and spend additional money for another company while we still had this one under contract. The second part of that, because of our water situation and our current agreements that we have with our providers, summertime is the worst time for us as far as any maintenance, drain down of tanks and then resupplying those tanks. And when they drain a tank down completely, take ever how many days they need to go in, make necessary repairs inside the tank, and then fill the water back up in the summertime. So for us, from May until 1st of September is we have to have the tanks, unless there's some emergency, as Adam can attest, at least 50% full. That way, if we have an issue, just like this past week, when the electricity went out, believe it or not, water usage goes up. I don't know what it is about lights out, people want to take a bath or a shower, but the water use goes up when there's no power. So for the normal usage we would have had in those hours, we actually go up and increase. Well, this company has failed to heed mine and Adam's directive of don't schedule us for service in the summer. And they once again did it this summer, and I had to have, as the mayor calls them, a duck moment to have an understanding that you know you do have a full year to service this tank, and it's not going to be during these 3 months.
So basically, are we going to give them notice that we plan to cancel, is what you're recommending, and then obviously you and staff interview
Yes.
new candidates for the contract?
Exactly. That is my intent, is to give them notice. We will interview other companies. That means we're still under contract with them at least through March, even with giving them notice. And could be later than that, depending on who determines. And we will have Gary to determine which is the official date. But
I know you don't want to act until, you know, that we make a movement on this one, but you already maybe have some in mind that you...
yes.
Okay.
Yes. We've got 2 different companies that we have talked to. One has done a lot more work in this area than the other one, but at this point, I honestly can't tell you that I have a favorite of the 2 because I've not been able to compare apples to apples yet.
Sure. Yeah, but you've already got you a short list, though. So.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, good.
Any other questions for Mr. Wyatt? So tonight you need from us recommendation to move forward?
Yes, sir. And I will get up with Gary as far as the terminology, and it's entirely up to you all. You just want the 3 people that the contract requires, or if everybody would like an opportunity to sign it if it's before you.
Everybody want an opportunity to sign? Want to leave it up to me, because I can, I will volunteer.
Yeah. We'll leave it up to you.
Okay.
They can't catch us all, right?
Okay. So if there's no opposition, then I'll sign, Mr. Hinkle will sign, and Mr. Now will sign. So they're the 2 closest to me, so for right now.
Yes, sir.
And I presume for direction, we'll adopt or accept your recommendation to, wait out the contract, so to speak, and next March, if that's the legal time, start looking for replacement for this company.
Anybody have opposition to that?
Just to clarify, make sure I heard you, we are in the process, and as soon as I get an opportunity, Councilman Ocher said, to compare and go and visit with some of these other municipalities. As several staff can say, we have learned in a hurry, just because somebody does a good presentation, we are visiting on-site places that use these companies to see firsthand, is this what we're getting? And we will do that before we make any recommendation.
But that recommendation will come back before council. when
Oh, yes, sir.
move forward. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, just one question for our town manager, Mr. Wyatt. Could you ballpark money-wise what this contract kind of is worth, kind of?
Basically, $30,000 to $35,000 total of the two contracts.
No, that's fine. I was just wondering on how big of a contract it's worth to this company.
In my opinion, especially with our budget, that's significant, but.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. You good?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Gary, is that sufficient, you think, to end it based off the motion they read?
All right. Next item on the agenda is public comments. The public is invited to address the council with comments or concerns. The public is limited to 3 minutes, 3 minutes per individual. Speakers are required to sign in at the podium and adhere to policy 51. Those comments, again, should be addressed to council. Anyone here would like to make comment to council regarding any comments or concerns? Okay, Jen, please come on up. Please sign in, and as if we don't know you, please say your name. Yes.
Good evening, Mayor Young, honorable council, and town staff. I'm Jane Getzinger, and I live on East Mambo Road. I'd like to speak to you and inform you of my desire to lead a campaign to raise funds with your blessing for monument signage and information signage for the historic Cheryl's Path. In the late 1990s, the 200 acres now known as Colonial Crossing was marketed, and over time, a citizens group on East Mambo pitched hard for conditions, one of which was preservation of Cheryl's Path. The surveying and recording of that 10-foot easement through the beautiful woodlands has been accomplished. And we're showing the path through Colonial Crossing right there. It's about a mile, and it does cross Adams Treeway paved road. It picks up off of Alan Collins' property, and I'm not sure who owns property on the other side. To the greatest extent possible, the old road bed is congruent with original Cheryl's Path. The path was the first route of travel in what is known today as Iredell County, and it was used until the 1800s. It's a break-off from the Great Wagon Road that ran from Philadelphia through the Shenandoah Mountains past Salisbury. The Sherrill family likely created it as a shortcut to the Great Wagon Road when they came to the Catawba River in 1747, settling on the western bank of the Catawba River at Sherrill's Ford. It shows up in local records in 1750, and its route through Troutman is shown on a 1773 map. Both Fort Dobbs, which has been beautifully restored and created in the last maybe 10 years in Statesville, and Fourth Creek Meeting House were on the road, and that's First Presbyterian Church in Statesville. It figures prominently in the formation of Statesville, and nowhere else but this opportunity for preservation has the road or path been preserved. And we have this opportunity in Troutman to preserve this, maybe about a mile. It takes about an hour to walk it through the woods. We desire to keep it natural and a monument and cultural information signage created. Dr. Gary Freese, noted historian retired from Catawba College, has helped with research as well as walked the trail several times. And this is just a brief summary, but I feel like the project is timely as North Carolina General Assembly has designated 2023 as North Carolina Year of the Trail. So what I need is the blessing of the town to publicize the campaign and raise the money for the signage. I've gotten cost on some of the signage. It would involve a monument-type sign about 7 feet tall out of stone in the right-of-way that would just say Cheryl's Path and the date, and maybe a plaque on the back if we want to recognize people who donate. And then we would need something like park signage, maybe 1 to 3, that would be a flat board about this big that you see in parks that would give the history, and maybe something to mark the beginning and the end of the trail. But some of you may never have heard of Cheryl's Path. I never had until some of the old timers let us know about this path, and it seemed kind of special, so I sort of took this on. This is the road bed, and that's a preserved part of the road bed that cuts through Colonial Crossing. The pathway on the, I don't know whether to say the right or the left-hand side, but one side of Adams Path, or the main paved road, it really does follow the path. On the other side of the road, where it cuts up to Allen Collins land, it's deviating because of the development. So we did, and it has been surveyed and recorded. So, and if you have any questions, that's all I have, but just would like to get your blessing on publicizing that and raising funds.
Okay, great, thank you. We'll have a moment in elected official comments, and we'll come back to you. Thank you. Anyone else like to make comments to the council?
Hello.
Hello, please say your name.
Hey, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm Kayla Walters. I have a small business in Troutman. It'll be 5 years in November. I own Tales of Lake Norman Dog Grooming Salon. And I'll keep this short and sweet. I don't have a big speech planned or anything, but basically I would just like your blessing and approval to have a very nice mural painted on my privacy fence. Not on the building, just on the privacy fence that's seen from the main street. I think it'll be very, appeasing to people driving by. It'll beautify the place, and I think it'll bring a lot of positive attention and energy to Troutman. And I brought the artist with me.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Mr. Mural of Imagination Works. Most of you all know and have heard of me for the cities I've done, Taylorsville, and how I've changed the faces, bringing and growing cities. This is short and sweet. It boils down to it's a fence. The whole idea of the city, and Lee, she's probably been in real estate, knowing that this attracts attention is all good for the city of Troutman. It's a simple fence. So I would like to, since you guys have the power, just avoid this. She's a businesswoman. Everybody is a businessman. I'm a businessman. I know time is money. I don't want to waste yours. Answer your questions. People don't want to work nowadays. People have no integrity in what they do. I'm here to say, if you know about my work, this is all we did our text amendment for this. I don't know if we hand this to whoever.
And I just want to add, I don't know if this is relevant, but I am involved in the community. I, have a lot of clients who have turned into friends who are police officers for Troutman. I won't name names. One of them might be sitting to my left. Police officers for Statesville. I like to be a part of the town, and I just want to do this the right way. I don't want to paint this mural, spend this money on this mural, and then you guys tell me, hey, you didn't do this, or you should have had a council meeting. So when Shane reached out to me, Kayla, we want you to have your mural, but we want you to do it the right way, go to the council meeting. I was like, okay, I'm not trying to, do things behind your back or sneaky. I just want to get your blessing and approval for it, and it won't be tacky. It'll be really beautiful and dog related, obviously. No advertisement, nothing political, nothing like that.
I just want to add, I'm the most advertised, publicized artist in Iredell County. I'm one of the only trademark muralists in the country.
And you've been on a TV show.
So, the work I've done for, I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with the FOP and the mural I donated there, and the work I've done in the community, and every place that I've done has brought positive things to cities. So I would like to ask if we can just get this done and improved. That way it doesn't hold up my client, doesn't hold up your time, doesn't hold up my time. It's a fence.
Thank you. We'll come back to you
Thanks, Mr.
during
Mayor.
comments. Thank you both.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Anyone else like to make comments to the council? Okay, great. Next item on the agenda is comments from elected officials and staff. I'll go ahead and start to my left, Mr. Harris.
First off, I'd just like to thank our police and fire and public works for all their work during the storm and afterwards. There was a lot of efforts going on even the next day or so. The trees and public works crews are out all over town getting tree limbs up. That the mayor said he got that comment that night, and I thank the manager for getting them, letting them know that we need to get these guys out there. Done a good job, cleaned up everywhere I'm going now. I see all the limbs are cleaned up, so they're doing a good job. The police, you hadn't put all the power out. They were manning the traffic, trying to keep it moving. Fire department doing their thing. So just want to thank all that group, and again congratulate Chief Watson. And I have one other request that Lynn can take back to Andrew. I mentioned the other night, my grandson, if you see him around, he rides an electric bike all over town, busy all the time now. He come to me, asked me, did you mention the dump truck, Papa? I said, yes, son, I did. And he said, I got another request. And he said, is there any way we could get a crosswalk light up there, 21 and Old Mountain Road? Like you go up to the school. He said, you can't get across that road on a bike.
That's the project we told you that DOT's working on. If you can have influence with DOT that we don't, by all means.
I'll tell Austin, maybe he needs to talk to him. You said Austin that way?
That is supposed to be coming and has been promised to us that it was coming sometime this year, if I recall from the last update from Andrew.
What we were told by NCDOT at one of our meetings last winter, is that was something that I believe was funded.
That's what I had thought. Austin mentioned the other day, so then you come wheeling up the driveway, I saw him coming up there before I got to meet, said, Papa, you promised me you're going to tell him. I said, I'll mention it.
Thank you. Ms. Harris?
Congrats to Chief Watson. Very, very much well-deserved. I just wanted to, we have kids going back to school in our town on Monday. If anybody's like me, you've been running around schools for 2 hours. So it was great to be back at my school that I graduated from 30-something years ago. But it's different, but it was just good to see so many people out with their children and getting ready for back to school. We wish them all the best in their school year. That's all I have.
Now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With school starting next week too, I'd also like to wish the students, teachers, sports teams, and organizations the best of luck for the school season, and also congratulations to Chief Watson. On Tuesday afternoon, I was on my way to Charlotte at about 5 o'clock, and the lights were out down by exit 42, and there was Chief Watson in the heat, and at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, directing traffic. So his care and commitment for the town of Troutman and the citizens of Iredell County is well recognized, and thank you very much, Chief.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Hoxha?
Well, Councilman now stole my thunder. With regards to mentioning Chief Watson, I saw him there at the exit. So that's the thing. I know that your department and the rest of staff sees what you do, but just want you to know it's seen by the community too. It means something when there's an emergency and the chief is out there. So I just want to say it does not go unnoticed. And thank you. I had to leave town before I saw any limbs in the street. So yeah, it was a great job by all involved to get things back. Keep us open for business here in the town. So that is greatly appreciated. Just to touch on what was mentioned Monday, especially now that we have so many more in the crowd. We had some great events this past month, Party in the Park, National Night Out. So if anybody in attendance or anybody watching hasn't attended those, I highly encourage it. Me and my family had a wonderful time. So thank you to all the staff. Thank you for the community for showing out. And thank you everybody. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Hinkle?
I will just simply say, be very quick, kudos to what I've heard. I hate repetition, so I won't repeat. But thank you for helping me express what I'm feeling too.
Right.
It's up to you, Mr. Mayor.
Great. I won't repeat much either, but again, thank all the staff for the good work they've done over this last 30 days. I know back to school is happening. I would say, again, as we talk about safety, it's important that our students remain safe during crosswalks, and ask our citizens to be cognizant that back to school is happening. I know our town tends to, I think most understand, double in size when we have school back in session. So please be patient and look out for our school kids as they return. Appreciate all the work that all of the administrators and teachers are doing to get ready for this new school year. We pray that it remains a good year and everyone remains safe as well. I understand the pep rally went off very well. I did see some folks out there. Mr. Wyatt, my nephew's son. And so, again, appreciate all the good work that went into making that pep rally for South Iredell go off without a hitch. And so, again, thank you. Again, Ms. Watson, that park is more than utilized, and people want to come because of the good work that you do. So, again, thank you for what you and the team does.
Mr. Mayor, just so you know, the little big man walked up to Emily.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, he sure did.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that doesn't happen always, but I'm surprised he stayed there for an hour. So, yeah, absolutely. Chief Watson, again, thank you so much for what you do, and I don't think we can say thank you enough, but again, please give the same to your team as well. Doesn't go unnoticed. I'd like to come back to a couple of things. Quite honestly, whether it is approved or not, I'm excited by the two presentations that were presented to us. Number one, Ms. Ketzinger wanting to preserve history in our town. Not many people know about it, even some who've been here for a long time. And Ms. Waters for coming to the town. I know sometimes things are done in our town. Sometimes it's I'll ask for forgiveness rather than permission, and so I appreciate her diligence to come before the council. I'll start with Ms. Getzinger's. First of all, any comment from council, first of all, for Ms. Getzinger and her requests for a campaign monument signage?
I think it's good to reserve history. I mean, it sounds like it's to be an area that really is not going to hinder other things, I don't think. The roads or nothing like that. It could be a good deal, it looks like.
I'd ask maybe staff can comment, thoughts.
Yes, sir. On the surface, it sounds real simple. Somebody has a great idea to preserve history, and therefore it should be fairly simple to go after. In reality, it's kind of a complicated quagmire of a thing. And I'm not saying that to discourage it, as Jane can attest. I have visited out there at least with her at least on 2 Sundays and multiple other trips with various community members and doctors trying to identify the best we could where the path was, and now called path, where it was. On one hand, you would assume that this would fall under Parks and Rec because it would be a greenway or a trail system, but that's not true, as we have a greenway here that does not fall under rec, it falls under Public Works. It also falls under the planning and zoning, and that this neighborhood, when they were built, agreed to designate a certain portion of that to be preserved for history, and I'm glad they did, but the verbiage there was very vague. We as a town have come back and asked, Ms. Getzinger has come back and asked, and we both have tried to use what resources we can to encourage a little more out of the developer to do. Then, as one of the doctors agreed that was out there, when we talk about an overall funding project, as I explained one of the first visits, it's hard for me as a manager to come to you all and say, hey, let's take taxpayer dollars here and fund another idea, even though I think it's a good one, when we still haven't completed our first main project that we're supposed to do. So, and Ms. Getzinger even volunteered then, and is still now, to my knowledge, not asking to replace one for the other. I'm asking, let me champion this and try to help. And I think that's a marvelous idea. But once it is done, and that preservation is done, then it becomes a maintenance of what is expected of the town. Does it become part of the greenway system? Does it become part of the park system eventually? And those are things at this point I don't think it's fair to ask you all to identify today. That's why I've asked the planning department previously to talk. And to me, going forward, it's certainly okay if you all say, hey, let's go out and see what people would like to be generous with nonprofit donation to the town, because as a government we can take that and it can still be tax write-off to them for that specific thing, and or also to solicit funding from the state if they're so inclined for things of this nature. But I want to be clear up front. As you all seen from the picture, that was one of the better pictures of a path, or what used to be the path. There's a lot of trees there. At some point in time, there's got to be removal, and then you're looking at, depending on the tree, $4,000 to $7,000 per tree to remove. And how much are we going to remove to keep a path there? What natural product do you put down, or do you leave the natural earthen floor and try to use it what the colonial people did because they used it so much? A lot of stuff don't grow back, but there are some things there. Depending on which staff member I have talked to and or the developers out there, I'm told there may need to be a bridge of some sort, or at least a staircase of some sort. This is not going to be something that can be accomplished in a short term or goal. So I do think it's got to start somewhere, but to me, as what I have suggested from day one, is that Jane present to you all as she did tonight, and if you all are so inclined to say yes, then a committee of 2 of you all, Mayor, you would be the 3rd person, of course, on any committee, but 2 members to then start meeting with Jane and whomever she can recruit that also has an interest in this, and it be a committee meeting for that purpose. And once it gets to a point to then decide how to go, I appreciate her volunteerism. We know what her husband's volunteerism has meant to our town, and I certainly am not trying to squelch the flame. I am just laying out the facts. This is going to be a good process, and it's not just as simple as it sounds good, let's go get it done.
So is this, what it's passed, is it in the development property, which is annexed into the town? Is that
Yes, sir.
where it's at?
Yes, sir.
May I say?
Absolutely.
I want to say something. The pathway has been, it has been clear, you can walk it. It's a 10-foot easement. is under the town of Troutman right now. The steps, if they will maybe vary.
It's just so you understand, it's not been turned over to us as of yet. It's supposed to be, but it's
It's been
not.
surveyed and recorded. It has been surveyed.
Have you
and
got it
recorded.
turned over to you?
We have not
No.
accepted it. It has to come to council. Council
No.
has to set a
Okay,
property.
didn't know that.
No.
Okay, the steps, there's a, you've got to get to the path on both sides of the road, so that would be the step issue. And there is a little creek on one end where probably would need a safe walking area. Yeah, those are two issues. What I want to do involves simply signage and the monument, which could be done anytime. And then the town, however y'all, but it could be used as a natural walking path. That's what I've done with it so far. I've walked it, and it's really wonderful. It really, and you really are walking through history, and it is there through the preserved forest area that we were able to get from the developers, a natural wooded area for the residents of Columbia Crossing. But anyway, I'm happy to take on the project with signage, you know, whenever I get your blessing.
So let me be clear, Ms. Getzinger, that your request is around campaign monument signage.
Right.
When you say that, what are you envisioning there at the property, and what does that look like?
I'll show you a picture. Something that looks like a monument, maybe where the trail starts, out of stone, and this is at a cost of about $7,000 right there. And we can push
Okay.
that around.
And so this is something that you're recommending that would go at the entrance of the trail?
Right.
Okay.
On one side, the best side to me is on the right-hand side of Adams Road, whatever that road is called.
I'll let you guys see it,
And then
but
somewhere along the path, the history that you might find at a national park, where you've got flat boards on 4 posts that you read that tells why it's there, you know, what you're walking,
Yeah.
and then leaves the trail.
what I would ask is there a way for you to make a copy of that for the clerk so she can get that
Sure.
to the council? I think the other piece of that is, it probably, if it's going to be within the town, there's a conversation that needs to be had with the planning board and our planning team. And so, once it goes through the planning team, then we can consider it at that point.
I agree, and I've been silent because I have very little information other than what I've heard, and it sounds good. I agree with George, and I certainly hear what our town manager's saying, and, somewhere evidently it lies between the two of it being relatively simple. If we go just natural, where we stick up some signs, leave it as it is, nature's, way of it, or we set up something that's, the town will have to maintain over time. And so this is somewhere in between there, I guess, is where we're talking about. But overall, my comment is, yes, it sounds good, but the devil's in the details, as the old saying goes. And that's where, my focus is on the details. But, if you're, wondering if the council is even interested, I would venture to say, we are, I presume, I am, but again, I would like more information. And as the mayor says, of course, run it through the planning board and the staff get involved and so forth, and maybe a little committee, subcommittee, or ad hoc committee to present something to us before I can finally comment, yeah, this looks good, let's go with it, or let's tweak this thing a little bit, so. Again, just need more information.
So that I'm, at least so I'm clear what Ms. Getzinger is asking right now for the monument signage to be approved. And so to look at the actual trail, I think that's another conversation with the manager before that moves forward, at least from a town connection perspective. We would want to recommend that a couple of council members maybe sit down with you and some other folks and staff and begin the process of what does that look like if it's going to be connected with the town.
And also, Mr. Mayor, if I may, if it's just a signage thing at this point, even that has a process that needs to be drawn up and scripted out of where is the sign, what is the sign, just like we would with anybody else. And yes, as you all said, that goes before Planning and Zoning Board and also before you all for approval, if necessary.
If necessary.
If necessary. But if I'm hearing Ms. Getzinger correct, and our many discussions that we have had, I think part of that, and Lynn is already familiar with the conceptual idea of a monument. It's not just a sign, it's an actual monument to be put up that could be as, yes, this granite monument, it could be as less as 15,000, as much as 20,000, depending on what verbiage you have. And if I'm hearing, and Jane, please correct me if I say wrong, the idea, and I think everybody's okay with a monument or a sign as long as it meets our code, but then to be able to tell people that she has the town's blessing for them to open up their pocketbooks and say, let me make a donation. Is that not accurate?
Wouldn't want to do it without the town's blessing.
Right,
But I
right.
have gotten a cost on that will hold for maybe 6-7 months, something like that. So that's $7,000. But with a stone person I enjoy working with. But the other signage would be like a national park would have through a company in Pennsylvania. Now those are the only things I want. Now I will say that Dr. Freeze, Gary Freeze, and Josh at Fort Dobbs did recommend that we keep the path natural as it was, that, you know, we wouldn't want to pave it. So anyway, those are the details that, yeah.
I make a
Excuse me.
recommendation.
Yes.
From an artistic standpoint, and you're worried about costs and things like that, is make them put warranties and guarantees on their work and represent the true history of this project. Might be services to help design or even offer those specific things for this.
Okay. You all can exchange information and.
What I'd like to do with
yeah,
y'all's blessing and show
absolutely.
you renditions and
Yeah.
request approval as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
Now, again, as I said, you know, I mentioned path, but obviously I was including everything. I wasn't just talking about a piece of land or dirt. But I would like to see something on paper or some discussion. Again, I'm saying I like the idea, but I want to see more of the details. And that's all I'm saying. And as the town manager said, it sounds good, but, you know, and I'm not crushing anybody's dreams. You know, I first heard about this path back in the late 90s. And Jane may remember when they were first looking at that land out there before they even began to turn the first shovel of dirt many years later. So I'm kind of familiar with it. A gentleman from our church, a historian from the school system at that time, was big on trying to preserve that back in the late 90s when the development that's occurring now was first proposed and put off for many years. So again, I'm familiar with it. It sounds good, it's great, and the path means a lot, especially to a lot of the older folks who've been a part of history or appreciate the history of this area, and I'm sure some of the newer ones that appreciate history in general. And it's a great idea, and as far as blessing, it's got my blessing up to that, but only to that till I see some more details. This is a good start, there's nothing wrong with this, but we certainly need more to go along, even if we're talking just signage, you know, something drawn out, placement, wording, you know, this is good, the dimensions, but something we're talking about a sign on the other side of the path, other end of the path, and you know, some informational signs, and all these things I would like to just to look at. If I'm going to give my blessing to something, I at least want to be able to tell people, you know, if they like it, fine. If they don't, you know, tell me why, because that's something that I did like and approve. So if that's the case. So that's where I'm coming from. Again, devil's in the details, and that's what I'm saying.
So it sounds like there's, again, to kind of move this forward, I would go with Mr. White's recommendation that maybe a couple council members partner with the staff and maybe sit down with Ms. Getzinger to begin to flesh out some of the details. What does it look like? And as we start to look at the signage, and it's going through the approval process, formal process, but sounds like Mr. Hinkle would like to be part of that conversation. I heard him volunteer. I'm not sure about anybody else. Anyone else like to volunteer?
I'd like to volunteer to be on this
Okay,
one.
so Ms. Harris, Mr. Hinkle,
Mayor,
I think I've got 2 volunteers, so please connect with Ms. Getzinger, and we'll see if we can move it forward. Thank you. Next was Ms. Waters. Again, any any pictures or anything formal you can share with the council at this point?
It's all in his head.
Okay.
If I may?
Yes.
Thank you. Are you familiar with Taylorsville?
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with Yellow Deli, the Hidden Night Food Pantry?
The cold thing? Yes.
Cornfield. These are the type of murals I paint. I create landmarks. And like I said, I'm the most advertised, publicized in Iredell County for what I do. I'm also one of the ranked number 3 of the Better Business Bureau with 5 stars out of all the surrounding businesses. And I'm only a one-man show. I create positive things for cities. See the growth that Taylorsville's had. A lot of you are fans of my work. What I just did for Mad Monkey Garage. These are all good things for cities. This is a fence. It's going to be, I'm known as the Bob Ross of my landscapes. It's nothing offensive. It's going to look dog friendly. It's a simple fence. And this is something that is good for these, the city. Attracts attention. So.
I will add, right now on the fence, it is just some like cute little banners, flags. I'm sure if anybody's drove by, they've seen dog flags, but they obviously become weathered. I've spent all this money on these expensive flags, and within 3 to 5 months, they're faded. You can't see them anymore. So that's when I was like, let's just do something more permanent.
And if those are allowed,
Yeah.
why not have a beautiful permanent thing that you know is going to be up there for 15, 20 years? That's nothing but a positive thing.
God willing, I'm still in business that long, I hope so.
But these are all positive things for your city, attract attention. And these are quick things you can, doesn't have to be prolonged on. You guys have the power to.
Yeah. So Ms. White, you want to comment on murals?
Yes, sir. Again, and I have spoken with Mr. Mural about, and I don't think anyone questions his artistic ability and some projects that he has done. The issue for the town, as a lot of things that come up, is it is not allowed in the current zoning district. So it takes a text amendment for you all to change all of that. You can't just say, well, we're going to let A do it and the rest of them still can't. It means the whole district, unless Lynn's got some other exceptions or Gary can say that there's some other exceptions. Well, we have one that we discussed briefly Monday. I don't know if the paperwork has been submitted yet or not. I'm told the paperwork was being done. It's another mural that was done it's not allowed in the district. I don't think, as we can discuss these, and as he and I discussed, one person's artistic value versus somebody else's, it's all getting opinionated. It has nothing to do with it being a religious message or anything of that nature from the town's perspective. We simply are enforcing ordinances that are out there that says murals are not allowed in this zoning district. If you all change that, it changes for the whole zoning district. And then whatever murals come, if they hire him, you can have an idea of, okay, it's going to be a general, this kind of thing.
No, I'll submit exact things that I'm doing. I mean, if this is what it takes, I'll submit whatever you need.
That's
that's-
not the
it's-
issue.
yeah.
The issue then comes if they hire somebody from Kalamazoo or from Juarez, we don't know what the mural's gonna be. And that is, as Gary can tell you, where it gets hinky for us when we start trying to govern one mural versus another, or one artist versus another. We cannot and should not get into that type of governing. Ours is simply, are you going to allow a text amendment for that whole district to allow murals or not? It's that simple as far as staff goes. And again, we have no issue with the artist or with the business owner wanting to do a mural. No issue at all. We're just enforcing the ordinance that says they're not allowed.
Right.
I just like the fact that the business owner, before she did it, came to the town to ask permission.
I agree with
That's
that.
the right way and the professional way to do it, not do it and then ask permission. So
No
I
problem.
applaud the business owner for asking first. Thank you.
What's your business again? What's the name?
It's Tales of Lake Norman, right, adjacent from Troutman Elementary. 5 years in November we'll be there. I came from Mooresville, I was in Mooresville for 6 years.
Thank you.
And the building in question is facing forward and the fence is on the back right side corner to the back of the property is what that is.
Yeah, it's kind of hidden. I mean, you'll see it when you pass. It's not something that's gonna hit you in the face.
It's-
You gotta, gotta be looking for it, but I think it'll look nice.
I stake my reputation on it.
Just one more question, maybe I could ask our town manager. We have somewhat of a mural at the restaurant Ribs and Burritos. Do we, am I correct with that?
Yes, and that was a different zoning district.
Okay, what I was looking for was
Yes.
what the district was, kind of.
Yes.
Any other questions?
I'm not familiar with how zoning districts work, honestly, but, I do know that Burritos and Ribs isn't far from me at all. Is the zoning district pretty, it changes pretty? Okay,
does,
see, I
yeah.
didn't know that.
Even within a single zoning
Right,
area or area you would assume looks like one zone, it actually is multiple zones. Could
Okay.
be, yeah. Properties could be zoned differently, very differently in that zone.
okay.
But if it's a positive thing for the community, shouldn't the community want these things?
I don't think anybody's arguing with that. For
Just
sure.
technicalities, apparently.
Yeah,
Shouldn't apply.
yeah, I think,
I get it.
I think as staff has put it, the issue is not that you're gonna have a positive message up there, or that the mural won't be beautiful, quite honestly. Whether or not that's in the eye of the beholder, I think the issue is the consistency is the problem in a zone that we, for that entire zone, don't allow murals. Regardless of what that, could be a beautiful road sign. It's just not allowed in that zone. That's the real issue.
And it's not feasible really to get into trying to change that at all? It's too much?
Yeah, again, I think you can make a request to our planning department to see if they're willing to bring that forward. And Ms. Hare would be the contact. That would have to go through our planning process. She can explain that in order to request that change.
Right. One other thing. So let's say we don't, you want to talk first, or?
But this could be, I mean, this is an easy result if it's nothing real positive.
And it
Why
is,
I mean, that's all I'm asking. I mean, it's just something-
If I can say this, in your mind, it's simple because it's good. That's not the case.
Good for your town.
That is not the case.
Okay.
Even though in your mind it's simple because it's good, we still have a lot of other people who are not simple and good. So when we have an ordinance, it has to apply to everyone equally and fairly. And that's why it has a zone that protects that zone, because we don't have the extreme of everybody being good and every project being good. So we have to have ordinances that protects the whole zone, because we want this part of the community to have the ability to do different things. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with the project that's going to come out or how good that it could look. it comes with consistency for what all the other businesses in there have to also do themselves. That's all it boils down to.
If I might explain, this council sitting here right now does not have the authority to change it pursuant to North Carolina general statutes and ordinances unless it goes through certain procedures. And those are the procedures that are being talked about to apply for a tax, to apply for a tax amendment or rezoning or whatever it might be. That's what the statute and ordinances require. So they couldn't do anything tonight. They have to go through that procedure.
So how long does this take? Because meanwhile, my client's losing money, I'm losing money as we all work for a living. So how long does this?
Realistically, is that a drawn-out process to try to get that?
It takes a text amendment, it'll take about 60 days. We've received this application, it'll have to go to the planning board. Actually, it'll probably be quicker, because we can probably get you on our next agenda, which is August 28th. And then it would go to, back before this board at their next meeting in September on the 14th. So, but it has
And
to.
then it has to be voted on everybody, right? Like,
Council would have to approve it, yes. The planning board, they just make a recommendation. Then this board would make the decision whether or not to change our ordinance.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Mayor, if I end up not going the route as a mural, would it be okay for him to just, right now it's just like a wooden privacy fence, it hasn't been stained or painted or nothing, would it be okay to paint it a solid color at least and maybe do like one picture of a dog in the corner, not an actual
Banners
mural?
up there of different things.
You can definitely maintain your fence. You can stain it, you could paint it, but when it comes to putting any type of mural or signage on it, that's something the town would have to approve. But you definitely can maintain your your fence, excuse me, stain it, paint it, whatever you need to do. But it's just whenever you murals are specifically called out in our sign ordinance. So we regulate those, and so that.
Is colored paint okay, like a nice color, or does it have to be?
I'd have to check and see, but if you want to give me a call, I think we've spoken, I'd be happy to look it up. I don't know if there's specific colors. I know some places in our ordinance talk about colors, so I don't want to misspeak, but I'm more than happy to help you with that.
And I have your email, so we talk
Yep,
briefly.
sure.
I'll email you and you can check on the color.
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, the next item would be, turn it over to town staff. Manager?
Adam, look up.
All right. Starting off with a bang here. So everything's going good, busy, wide open. Public Works is constantly moving about. So the storm work this week kept us busy. Monday night, obviously. But some of the highlights for this month is all the reports are submitted and approved by the state. We've got some newer employees that we're putting through some job-specific training, getting them signed up for that. Some safety training, confined space, get them certified in those things. Got some interviews coming up next week for the Randy's old position where he retired, so we're going to be interviewing some applicants. I think we've got some good candidates there. Other than that, we do have a sewer inspection coming up with the state, so that's always a not very fun ordeal for me, nervous time. So, we always do good, but of course it's a stressful time, so we're trying to get ready for that. But outside of that, man, it's just normal operating procedure, so wide open. So, if there are any questions?
Adam, would you repeat the personnel, you mentioned several personnel situations. Would you repeat that, please?
Just some training, some job-specific training for our newer employees.
Okay, newer employees.
Newer, yes, sir.
Okay, and
I'll
then
probably
you're also
mention that
interviewing for Randy's old position?
Yes, sir. We're filling that one, and like I said, we got some applicants for it. It's been open for about a month now.
Yep.
I think, about a month, about 30 days. So we've got a couple applicants in there. We think we've got a couple good ones. So we're going to try to get them in here next week and see what's going on. So,
thank you.
Yes, sir.
So state inspection, will that include like smoke testing?
No, well, the smoke testing was just an evaluation for our system, for our project.
Okay.
The inspection from the state will be 7 categories and 100 subcategories that basically they go through top to bottom, our entire sewer system with our jetting records, pump records, inspection records. It's a big deal. So that's what we work hard on, and like I say, we've always done well at it. But every year it seems they're looking for something different. They're trying to catch you. They always are. So we'll see how it goes. I think we'll do fine. We got everything in place. So.
Yeah, good luck, but I know you'll do well.
I appreciate it. Been doing it for a while, so I kind of know what to expect. But we'll see what happens.
Okay, so for finance, I sound like a broken record, but the audit's coming up in about 10 days, so they'll be here on site. We've been busy. The ladies have been pulling samples all week, last week, and along with their other duties, so they're doing great. They're doing a great job up front. They have many different hats that they wear, whether it comes to, making sure everybody gets transferred over, service on time, collecting payments at the window or through the mail or online, or dealing with passports. Miss Jessica's over here learning how to take minutes and all that. So they do a lot, and they're very busy. As the town continues to grow, everything indirectly or directly affects those ladies up front and, in our finance department. So I can't thank them enough for the hard work that they do day in and day out. And so when you have an annual audit like this, it's a stressful time, like Adam was talking about. And I think we'll be very well off. I feel like we're in a much better place than we were last year at this time. So that's what we continue to try to do. We continue to try to improve and tweak things that doesn't seem right, or just areas we can improve on. We always want to get better. We don't want to be complacent. So hopefully next month at this time I'll be able to tell you that the audit went good, and they're writing it up and all that good stuff. Then they'll present hopefully at the October meeting, or the latest hopefully November. So that would be good. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, for Parks and Recreation, we had a very busy summer. We had a number of sports camps, basketball camp, baseball camp, and we're wrapping up soccer camp tomorrow. We had an average of 60 participants in each camp, and we were able to host those first two, the basketball and baseball at South Idle High School, and soccer, of course, is in partnership with Impact Soccer, and it's here at our park. So those went well, and we have positive feedback on those. So I was grateful for the partnership with the schools on those camps. Tomorrow we will deliver school supplies that we were in partnership with the Rotary Club on that school collection again this year. We've done that for a number of years together. I think this is probably our third or fourth year that we've partnered together on that. My office is completely packed from one wall to the other. So we have, for all 5 of our local schools, we have a ton of things to deliver tomorrow morning. So we'll start our route and we'll drop those off. But again, we're honored to work with the Rotary Club on this. So we'll take those for the schools to be able to start their school year out with a little bit of extra surplus. So we're glad to be able to do that again this year. So thankful for the citizens in the community that donated, and also the members of the Rotary Club who pitched in, and also their support for that. Rotary Club also put a great deal of, I think it was $750, and T. Ross, you might can speak to that, toward the technology fees for the students in our community, and that is something that I do know from speaking to educators in the community that is a challenge for a number of families. So that's a huge support. So again, thank you for that. Community Pep Rally went well on Tuesday night. We had all sports represented here that night. I think there was, maybe it was volleyball, was low on numbers. There was a number of them that couldn't be here because they were with their travel teams. But we were glad that all the teams from South Iredell were here and represented, and so that was just neat for the community to come together. We had food trucks. It was a pretty cool event. So that went well, and the Parks and Rec team, those guys are really good at parking, and they've got that down to a science, and so I'm proud of those guys and that crew. So they did a good job of getting everybody in and out safely, and we were parking buses and food trucks and all that, and they did a great job. So the South Iredell High School Homecoming Parade is on Tuesday, September 5th, and we'll be publicizing that route soon so that neighbors and Everyone coming and going with pickup for after school and those kind of things will be aware of the route, so we'll get that posted on social media and door tags for neighbors here in the next couple days. Ball fields at the park are open. Baseball practices started back this week. Soccer will start the week of Labor Day, but those ball fields are back open to the public. Please just check with the office to make sure that it's not already reserved for open play. But they're up and going. The Bermuda did come up nicely, especially on the soccer fields, the baseball fields. It'll probably be next year before we get it exactly where we want it, but that's okay. So it's a work in progress. But the guys have worked really hard on the grass, and we're pleased with how it was coming up. We have had, myself and the police department have had some feedback from citizens, some phone calls, some personal messages in regards to a number of people turning in recklessly across the Greenway from 21 or from Eastway going to 21 across the Greenway and not being cognizant of the Greenway crossing across Morgan Street, Food Lion, Church Street. So we just want to remind citizens to please be aware of the crosswalk across the Greenway as you're turning from one to the other, as the roads run parallel, and just being aware that people are walking. So we did put something out I put something on the digital marquee today. I'm going to put something on Facebook, and we're going to put something in the newsletter if we've got room, just reminding people to be aware of the crosswalks. We did go out with Shane, the code enforcement officer, the manager, Adam, and myself to meet with the landscape team from Food Lion to clip back some of the trees so that there's visibility. So when you're walking, the drivers can see, the walkers can see. We're working on ordering some flashing lights on the roads that we can control and the roads that we're able to do that on. Adam helped me to find the right ones for Eastway here, so we're working on trying to make our crosswalks more visible. But just trying to get that message back out there. I know the police department's working on manning some of these up here a little bit more diligently, but as traffic increases, some of these things might be something that people just aren't, as aware of if they're new to our community. So we're doing what we know to do, and we'll just keep doing it. So,
Emily, one more thing. Another place is right here where people are coming out those woods right there. I mean, I've been driving even the speed limit, and somebody just came darting out the woods.
Right
some
trail
here. Right here.
Yeah. Yes.
That's scary to me that
Yes,
people,
it is.
the other thing that's scary to me is when people walk on this road right here instead of the trail up there.
Yes.
That scares me when people are walking on the road.
Yes. So Adam and I priced and we found exactly what we needed for the flashers to go, the flashing lights that will flash whenever someone comes out to get into the crosswalk. And then we found one that was a consistent flash, so we're looking at a number of things, but I totally agree with you because you can be coming, it's something about coming down this hill right here that you can't see right the second one.
Right.
So it was 2 years ago, I think it was. Eastway hadn't even been striped, those crosswalks, for some reason. Yeah, but we went out and striped it, Public Works in our department as well. So just trying to be aware of those things and trying to, one step at a time, make sure we got them. I know Public Works went out and restriped Food Lion the past couple months. So, and then like George mentioned, the crosswalk at 21, that's feedback we've received for years, and we've been trying to get that one. But Andrew did tell us that it was on this year's. So the crosswalks are just something that's just been difficult to nail, but just trying to keep it in conversation. So you will see more conversation and more marketing from our department coming out, reminding people to be aware of that as they're out and about.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Pickleball lessons, beginner and intermediate. We're offering those again for the 4th month. They've sold out every month. Past 4 months, we've been doing those Saturday mornings at Troutman Middle School. If you're interested, call Town Hall here and I'll get you the information. And then registration's open for the Wicked Fast 5K and Trails and Treats. We're accepting vendors for that too. So Halloween and fall will be here before we know it.
You didn't mention your volleyball courts. They're coming along good.
Volleyball courts, they're still working. I think there's a few things they have left to do, but we have had a number of partners, corporate partners, working on renovating the volleyball courts, and we look forward to doing large unveiling and ribbon cutting to recognize everyone that was in partnership on that. So more to come on that. Thank you, that's all I have.
Something I forgot during my public comment period, but you reminded me. I hate I missed the pep rally, but I live very close to South Iredell High, and so I would like to give my hats off to the band because nothing gets me jazzed up for football season like stepping out of my house, getting ready to come here, and hearing that band playing on that out there. I'm like, it's time. It's here. Yes. So thanks for reminding me.
Yeah,
Sorry.
they were in full force on Tuesday night. That was it. So.
Well, and since you said that, I'm being near the park, so I was at the pep rally. I heard the pep rally.
Yeah.
My oldest is in the band, so that's why I'm all excited.
Melina told me to slow down.
I did.
Well, the planning department, just like every other department, we've been pretty busy. Andrew had two things he wanted me to share with you all, so I'm going to do that right at the top. He wanted me to mention that we're working on the mobility plan. It's a project that he's heading up where we're focusing on different intersections throughout town. That's what the plan really is going to focus on. There's going to be some public comment that we're looking for. People will be able to go online and give us their input on the design for Main Street, Old Mountain, and Murdoch Road intersection, as well as Murdoch, Main, and Church Street. We're looking for some just comments on how the design of those intersections how they should look, what we would like them to look like, so people can go online and give us those. We'll have that on our website. So we'll be posting that in the next 30 days. Hopefully we'll be able to have that before you all in November for review. Second thing, this is really good news. The NCDOT approved our 25% design plans for the Tally Street sidewalk project, for our sidewalk projects. So now our consultant, Ramey Kemp, is moving into engineering and design of the sidewalks. And then once that's done, the next step will be right-of-way acquisition. So we are moving forward with that project. We hope to have the plans completed in 90 days. So if that's done, then we can start with that right away. So
This is the complete
Did you hear that?
Miss Mary's sister.
Heard that before.
Yes.
You haven't heard this before.
Yeah, we
I've
are.
heard other people lie. This is approved, so we're getting close.
And it is, and it's been a slow process. I think yesterday was my 2-year anniversary with the town, and I think we started working on this the week I started. So yeah, it's been 2 years to get to this point.
And this is the complete project, not just Tally Street, but
Yes,
Rumpel and
that's correct.
and down
Yes.
to the post.
I believe so.
The sidewalk project is just.
I'm sorry, just the downtown. This is not Greenway. This is just the downtown sidewalk project.
That's what I'm saying. Now, sidewalk project, Tally, Rumpel,
Yes.
and
that
down to
is
the post
correct.
office.
Yes.
Okay,
correct.
that's what, yeah.
We do have a couple of rezoning cases that we've received. I just want to point out, because we have gotten some calls about the sign that we posted right down here on Highway 21, just to the east of Trackside. There's a zoning sign that went up on the left. That is just an annexation. The property owner just decided he wanted to bring that property into the town limits. He is looking for some highway business zoning, but like I said, for some reason, we've gotten a lot of comments on that, so I just wanted to mention it. Sterling rezoning, which is somewhat controversial. It's a subdivision that's going in. So, well, there's an application for a subdivision off Autumn Leaf. We did hold a community meeting last month. It was very well attended. This is a subdivision that will connect through to Quail Haven. So there's a lot of interest in this. The applicant did decide to defer his planning board meeting. It was supposed to come before you all this evening, but because of the controversy, they decided to go back to the drawing board and rework their plan. So I did want to mention that's why that is not on our agenda tonight. We've had some calls about that as well. When applicants defer, sometimes it confuses things, but they were trying to respond to the comments they received from the community. One thing that we have been working on lately, and it's been taking up some of our time, we've got some neighborhoods in the town that have been under construction for a few years, and they are reaching completion. So when that does happen, the town has to get very involved. We need to make sure that the infrastructure is put in correctly, because that will be something that the town owns at some point. We also need to make sure all the conditions of the rezonings were implemented and all the things that they promised to the town are put into place. So we've been working with our engineers on that, and I know that's something that our town manager feels very strongly about, that these subdivisions are built to the standards that these developers promised. So we have been spending a lot of time with some of these developers on making sure that these things are done correctly. So just wanted to point that out. So we do have some neighborhoods coming to completion, and we're working on those.
I apologize for interrupting, since you're on that subject. And I realize sometimes you have to do a little arm twisting and
Just a little
serious conversation with some of these developers, so are you having that problem, or are most of them now cooperating, or you have to have what we used to call the come to Jesus moment?
A little bit. I mean, we have found that once we, what happens typically in these processes is the guys that work on site reach out to us and say, hey, we're ready for a final inspection. So our engineers go out there, do a walkthrough, do what we call a punch list of repairs that need to be made. And sometimes that's, when it's just in the community, there maybe is a lack of communication and understanding there. So we have found sometimes we are having to go a little bit higher on the chain. And once we do that, we are finding that for the most part, these builders are wanting to cooperate with the town, and it's definitely in their best interest. But so it can be a little, a little bit of that. But we are finding that for the most part, the builders, once we, get the correct people involved, are looking to hopefully work with them.
And to expand a little bit to answer your question more directly, just like most neighborhoods and just like our community, you've got some people who ask more questions in their neighborhood than others, and bring things to our attention. Most of them are not to be our purview yet, and we respond accordingly. But as these developments, as Lynn stated, when they're getting near completion, for example, some of you all got calls, I think it was year before last, I don't think we had snow this past year, like snow removal time, why didn't y'all scrape our street? Well, it's not been turned over to us yet. We can't go and scrape streets that's got manholes in the middle of it, so you can't do that. So there's a little miscommunication like that. Some citizens are expecting us to give full services when the community's not turned over to us. The other part is some of these bonds at the time they were done for communities, quite frankly, were outdated and have lost what they were really valued at. So as we're getting to these things, our engineers, Lynn, and me, we have made sure to let people know, and there's one developer we didn't feel like we were making headway with, so we stopped all permits and COs, and once we did that, work is progressing nicely again. There's another developer, it don't matter what you say, he's just, it's somebody else's fault constantly. And they have had the most re-inspections and the most explanation of all the other developers combined. So as Lynn said, for the most part, most of them do what they're supposed to as intended and promised. We just have to remind what was written and where it was written. But one developer, I pity wherever they go for the next project. But if we're asked how were they, it's not going to be a good recommendation.
And just a point, the manager mentioned bonds. That's something too that we've been dealing with a lot lately. We hold bonds for these developments, for the infrastructure, to make sure things are done correctly. And that's something in case we have another situation like 2008 where a lot of these builders went bankrupt and things didn't get finished. But now we hold bonds for that type of thing. So, God forbid the town has to go in and make those repairs. And what happens is these developers want these bonds reduced. And so we're looking at those very carefully and making sure that, where are we with the project? What kind of repairs are we needing? And do we have enough money? Are these bonds matching the repairs if it gets to that? So that's something we've been working closely on, and we spend a lot more time doing that than I think we would have. But I think it's a very necessary exercise to protect the town and the people buying these homes in these neighborhoods that are our residents. So we want to make sure that these neighborhoods are turned over in really good condition. So,
Yeah, Glenn, the only thing I would add to that is, probably similar to Mr. Hinkle, is are you keeping a list of kind of these neighborhoods and their streets in particular, and their infrastructure? Because I know one of our neighboring communities have been struggling with some of the developers finishing streets in particular. And as time goes along, that street is not turned over to the town, and yet that street turns out to be pretty much almost going back to, a dirt street. And so, is there a way for us to keep up with some of that? And I don't know how many more developments we would have kind of in limbo where that bond is coming close, but again, I would hate for a developer to your point, kind of pick up and leave and/or not complete a project. And because it's not turned over to the town, we're like, well, it's,
And that is what we hold the bonds for. And one thing too, in doing research recently, we kind of put our heads together, the engineer and I, and said, okay, what neighborhoods are coming up that we really need to look at? What are we holding, financially with these bonds? Where are these projects that are coming close to being completed? And where are we with all of this? So we do have a really good hold on the bonds, because if that did happen, if a developer picked up and left, didn't finish a road, we would just cash that bond in. And in doing that research, the bonds don't have an expiration date on them. Letters of credit do expire, but we try not to accept those. We prefer bonds. But we can hold those. They don't expire. So if someone were to do that, that would put the town in the position that we would hopefully have that money in those funds to take care of that.
great, thank you.
I've got just one thing. It was actually your first point. I know a plan is not law, right? But when it comes to these intersections and reworking them, you said you're going to put it to the community, get some feedback. And I know several months ago we adopted a pedestrian plan where at Old Mountain Road specifically, we had a centered discussion right around that intersection there. So just wondering, is that kind of maybe the baseline for where when we put it to the community? Like, this is what we're looking to do, or how does that factor into the process is probably a better question.
We're looking for input, because every plan that's adopted by the town, we want the community's input, because it's the town's plan. So we are looking for input from our residents on how they want these intersections to look, so that we can include that in a plan. It's not staff's plan, it's not the consultant's plan, but we feel like it's very important that we include the community.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just wondering, is what's in the pedestrian plan that was adopted, will that be presented?
The pedestrian plan was done separately. This is, we're just looking, I don't know if we're focusing on intersections. But the pedestrian plan will be included in the mobility plan? Is that what you're asking me?
No, not the mobility plan. I know that just when we were talking, I kept using the term greenway, and Andrew kept hitting me with the ruler, right? What's the term he used that's used now?
Side path.
Okay, right.
Multi-use path.
Multi-use path,
Yes.
right? Yeah, and so I know that's where we were talking because of just like the issues that, forgive me, that Paul's having to deal with, right? That I know that we had discussed that. I didn't know how if that is that a completely separate silo of what you're looking to do with?
We take all that into account, yes, with those intersections. We've already taken the pedestrian component into account with that pedestrian plan. Here, I think what we're looking to do is try to create a plan that focuses on intersections so that, we had the meeting with CARTPO last month. This hopefully will help us get some funding for some very specific projects.
Okay.
We feel like this mobility plan, if we can focus on these intersections, they're smaller projects, maybe we can get funding for those. Because when you create a plan where you're looking to say, hey, we need to widen 21 for this many miles, it's difficult, it's harder to get funding, but we really felt like maybe focusing on intersections that needed help would be, something that we could do in the short term. But yes.
It's a good approach, yeah. It's easier to get a bite than steal a whole loaf of bread, right?
The police department for the month of July, our calls for service didn't decrease, but there was no significant increase. We did just complete the National Night Out event. Appreciate everybody that came out to that. We currently have 2 officers that tomorrow will graduate from General Instructor School, which is a 2-week, almost 90-hour class that'll be able to then teach more classes for in-house training, so we're not having to get other things. The SRO unit during the month of July attended 2 different active shooter response training courses. We also have with the vote tonight, some changes in our SRO unit. Officer Aaron Hudler will be moving to Iredell Charter. Officer Castronovo went from patrol to Troutman Middle School, and Officer Elmore moved to the CATS facility. Due to the number of SROs we have now, Sergeant Baker couldn't supervise the unit and be an SRO in the school. So he is pulled out and is actually acting as a supervisor for the unit, which is it's really good because it'll allow him to, if SRO at one of the schools needs to be sick or have a day off or go to court, he can go to that school, and there'll be no time that any of our schools do not have a SRO on the campus. And it'll also let him, if we're having problems at the high school, for instance, that now we have a 3rd officer up there, or he can assist the middle school. So that's going to be a good positive thing, and will allow him to guide the 2 new SROs, because they'll have to be trained by him while they're on the job. We also have been getting complaints about speeding in areas, and we're continuing to respond to those, and the officers get out and work, doing enforcement while also responding to calls and going to other areas that we have complaint issues. But everything in the police department is going really well, and we appreciate your support.
Due to the quality of reports that the department directors did, half my list is gone, and I apologize for repeating certain things. I would just like to thank all those people, as Emily pointed out, with the volleyball project that occurred this past week. Even with the storm that we had, and Lowe's people had to pull off because they have disaster response crews also. And because of that, it took an extra day. Because of the weather, we got some of the grassy areas messed up that we hoped had not been. But we appreciate each and every person that had something to do with that. And we still was able to continue the camps that Emily talked about and other activities in the park. I would also like to point out, in talking about the storms, I appreciate the kind comments from council. Some of the citizens have reached out to various department directors personally or directly, but also just this afternoon, I had a citizen call from Allendale Circle and tell me, hey, there's a tree here, the power lines, this, that, and the other. What are you going to do about it? I said, well, unfortunately, it's not our town, not our road. I know that. But I also know you know how to get it fixed, so what are you going to do? Okay. So we do have, and everybody here, even though we get labeled as only taking care of our tax-paying citizens, that's not true. We wind up spending a lot of time doing services for people who do not live in our town and pay our salaries through taxes, because it is an overall Troutman community. As Emily and I discussed not long ago, several of the park amenities that are here have been funded by folks that did not live in our town limits. So we are appreciative of those, but I do thank them for calling us, because whoever they tried to call, the county or another agency, was not getting them the answer they needed. One of the comments that we will be changing some, we've had a couple citizens who absolutely cherish the newsletter that comes out monthly. We've tried to make a change. This last time we spoke was make sure that the calendar was a little bit bigger. I think, as Paul said, for folks more like us with bigger letters so that it's easier to read. I don't know what he meant by that more like us part, but that's what he said. We have tried to alter that to where people can take that calendar, tear it off or cut it off and put it wherever they would like to see it as a fresh up. But one of the things there, as we are expecting the department heads to talk about different things that are important from them to the community, we're running out of space. So we will continue to try to make changes there. If something happens that people don't like, let us know. The alternative is we start paying more money for a lot more pages, because you can't just add a page, you add 4. So because of the quad fold thing, so if we do it, it's add a lot more pages. So if we start changing information there, just want people to understand why we're doing it. It's not that we're trying to deprive of information, but it is a town newsletter. We're trying to promote what news or advice each department has for us. Adam talked about the sewer system. Again, with the storm that we had, those guys, we have an inspection going on now, and we've had several citizens to call. They see somebody unhooking water. We appreciate those phone calls. Don't ever not make the call and think it's okay, because we do have people committing theft of water from time to time, and without those calls, we don't know, because we can't watch every hydrant and everything. But with this storm, this crew that we have subcontracted to do an inspection of our sewer system, they stayed here, except one had an emergency in his area back in Tennessee and had to leave, but they continued working through the storm. Literally, that night through the storm, they felt like, well, there's no power back at the hotel, so why go there? And so far, their reports general are excellent. Our system is much better than people would have speculated it to be. The word has starting to get out about our passport office and/or the new location. It's not ready to be opened yet. We are doing work there and are trying to get the passport office prepared and ready. We've still got some IT work. I'm using Adam's folks to get some desks put together and things moved around so that it will be ready to be used soon. And staff here will be working this weekend to try to get some things done there. Also, as you all saw, the plans for the park, I think as Emily has discussed with you and me over the time, to finally see some of that stuff in 3D, where we're talking about the pickleball courts, the basketball court, how it goes in with the volleyball court there, and now the part is, depending on feedback from you all, the next step is to go back through it with some of that geographical land laying different, is to start getting pricing on what needs to happen there. But I was glad to see that come in. Tomorrow morning, as a part of all of us being frugal, minor items, we have tried for a year and a half now. The chief and his detective tried to get a square on the federal and state surplus sites for either military or state items that are available. But I'm going to leave about 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning and head to Raleigh to get some surplus that we can use in various departments. We're hoping to get a generator. I'm hoping to bring it back tomorrow. That will be a backup once we can use our partners at CATS to have them to go through it and make sure that it's ready. The one that we have currently is a backup, our unit up in the Public Works. As Adam says, it's getting tired. Some of you mechanics knows what equipment getting tired means, but that's what he said. It's getting tired. But that's all I have as a report.
It's industry
Glad to answer
term.
your
Yeah,
questions.
that's industry term.
Yeah.
Any other questions for staff or Ms. White? Okay. If not, I will accept the motion to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A, 3 to consult with an attorney. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, we will go into closed session. Thank you all for being here. And appreciate your patience. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you for coming.